Guys, Robert Trimbath here, CTO for AIO Integrations, and I am here talking today about Linux as a desktop. I'm going to be talking about some of the variants of Linux, the main ones you can use, the one I chose to use and why, and how you can get it to work for pretty much anything. And you're going to excuse me here. I'm having allergy issues today, so I may occasionally rub my eye here like this. But let's talk about this. So the version I'm using today is Linux Mint. It is a Ubuntu based, and you're going to see here it's going to look and feel a lot like Windows. You can see it's very responsive. I'm going to go ahead and bring up a couple of windows here to kind of show you we're actually recording on this system. So we're doing real-time recording while we're actually demoing it. So you're going to see that I'm actually using a little less than 7 gigs of RAM while I'm recording this in OBS Studio and using it and showing you. And you can see my processors are, about midway, but it's a very responsive system. I'm not running across any issues whatsoever, and it is working fine. If I go look at my specs for my system, I am running a 7th generation Core i5 with 2 cores. This is an Intel IUC box. It is actually about 4 inches by 4 inches by 1 inch tall. It's a micro mini, and 16 gigs of RAM, and it has a 512 solid state with a 2 terabyte USB 3 drive attached to it for storage. So that is my setup. This is my, you can see there, I have, these are what's called hot corners. I didn't mean to demo that right that second, but this is really cool. It shows me that I have virtual desktops, which I can add to or create ones, but it lets me show all my open windows, drag things around between windows, which is kind of nice. And it allows me to have more screens open. I have one screen on this system instead of multiple screens, so it's a nice way to let me have that. I can also use this corner to bring up my open windows instead of Alt-Tab and choose which one I want to look at. So really cool functionality you don't see in Windows. Windows has actually brought virtual desktops just recently compared to how long Linux has had it. And this allows us to really have some really nice functionality and effects and it's built into it by default. I didn't have to go do anything crazy and add that or customize it. I just had to choose, yeah, I want to enable that. And that's what I want this corner to do this, and I want this corner to do this. And that's it. It was a point and click thing in the settings. So very straightforward, middle of the line system. This system cost me about $300 between the $100 for the used Intel IUC. I spent $162 on the 24-inch monitor, which is brand new, and it has, this one I chose, has a built-in webcam at the top, which is really cool. There's very few of these around. Dell makes one, Asus makes one, and Acer makes one, which is the one I have here. HP has one too, which has a little camera built into the top with a microphone and speakers, so I don't have a bunch of stuff littering my desk, and I didn't have to go buy a webcam. Don't have a bunch of cables. I just plug a USB into the back of my monitor for the audio and video and my HDMI cord, and the rest is history. But I do have a nice little, I purchased a nice little, I'm guessing it's Chinese, but it's just a nice multicolored, it has a good feel to it, keyboard, and like a little gaming keyboard that's backlit. And I have a nice little gaming mouse here. That is wireless. I have it plugged in right now, so I can use it plugged in or wireless, whatever I want to do. I actually have a PlayStation 5 controller programmed into it, and it is very usable with Steam. I use a Bluetooth headset that I use, and I have this. This is from iHome. I use this, and the audio quality is actually decent. I paid 25 bucks for this, and I use this to listen to music, which is very good. With one of the programs I've installed called Pulse Effects, it allows me to add equalizer effects to my sound for you audiophiles out there, and actually creates a really good sounding system. Kind of like Atmos and that stuff allows you to do to Windows to create a nice, really nice sound environment. Really appreciate good music, good sound. So let's talk about this for a second. I'm going to bring up a window here, and we're going to talk about DistroWatch. This is a site that monitors probably the best one I've seen anyway. I've used it for years. It monitors the top 100 distributions, and there are way more than 100, but this monitors them over here on the right hand side by popularity. Linux Mint is always seems to be in the top 5. It has been there for years. This is showing you its position moving up and down based on views and hits within the system. If you want to click on Mint here and you can learn a little bit about the operating system, it tells you what it's based on, Debian and Ubuntu, and we'll talk about this based on here in a second. Its origins is Ireland. That's where it's maintained out of, the people that maintain it. And it has been around for a long time. You can see its user ratings are really good. It's got a lot of reviews you can go read about it. It is a little dated. When I mean dated is it looks a lot like, out of the box, like a normal Windows 10, it hasn't changed a whole lot. But that's okay because Linux allows you to change every aspect visually of the operating system and however you want it to look. So that really doesn't mean anything to me. What means a lot to me is what can I run on it reliably? What works and what doesn't work? I'll give you an instance. I recently was testing Ubuntu 2304, I think the latest 2305, the latest release, and it was really good. I really liked it, but what I ran across was pausing and hanging for some reason in the operating system. It would just pause and take a minute and then do something, and that's obviously something with the kernel there going on. And then on top of that, when I was using Zoom, which you can use Zoom, you'll see Zoom is actually running right down here. I have a meeting coming up at 11 o'clock, and I'm able to fully use Zoom and share my screen. And what I found out in Ubuntu, whatever they've done to the operating system in this new version, it will not share my screen. My screen does not share. It freezes and crashes Zoom. I have all sorts of issues with it. So I ran across, that was the only compatibility issue I really came across was screen sharing. And it doesn't work right in a couple of the programs. And so I had to kill it and go back to Mint. What I find myself doing over and over again is trying something new. It seems to work okay for a while, but then it breaks. Then I end up going back to Linux Mint, and Linux Mint just works. Okay. It supports things like drive encryption. So if you want to encrypt your whole drive or just your home drive where you store your data, you can do that. It gives you so much flexibility. It is 15 minutes to install. If you go here to their website, linuxmint.com, just go to the download page, and the home page actually looks like this when you get there. Just hit download. You'll come to this page, and you want to download this edition I'm using here called Cinnamon Edition. All right. This is by far, there are others for people that prefer some of the older systems or more light and efficient systems. This, to me, is the most flexible and the most powerful. So I would download this. This is going to download the ISO. It's going to bring you to a torrent download, or you can actually just go down here, and here's a list of all the mirrors to get it from, and just grab whatever one you want to grab it from. It's going to download an ISO. Okay. I would pick a mirror that's in your country. You can see here this is very widely distributed internationally. Now, I would recommend that you go to the this guide right over here. It says installation instructions. This is going to show you, if you are not familiar with how to create bootable media, I would follow this instruction guide, and this will show you how to create bootable in Windows, Mac, Linux. You can download there's a program called Etcher. It will allow you to basically create a flash image that you can put onto a USB drive or make a bootable DVD straight out of Windows. And so depending on how you're going to do it from DVD or from a USB stick, everything you need to know is here, and it will tell you exactly how to do it. Okay? Very, very easy. Now, I'm going to talk about, I said based on. There are about there's actually a few more, but there are 3 main distributions right now that things are based off of, okay? And I'm going to class Debian and Ubuntu in the same. I know that some hardcore believers are going to go, why did you do that? Well, it's because almost everybody, I considered Ubuntu and Debian to be very close to the same thing. I like Ubuntu's resources better because there's a corporation behind it maintaining it, and they actually offer paid support. if you use their operating system. I don't like Ubuntu for the reasons I stated before. I still run across some issues, and they're also embracing a package system, which there's two main package systems out there right now that are competing with each other. One for universal installation, like universal software installations for free software. One is called Snap, and the other is called Flatpak. Now, there are others, but Flatpak is by far, to me, I think the most widely used and distributed. For some reason, Ubuntu has made an investment into Snap and is going that direction. Glory to you. I don't find it to be as I don't find the software library to be as diverse or as good as Flatpak. So I stayed with Linux, who has embraced. Linux has actually removed that feature from its Ubuntu version, what it's based off of, and dedicated it to Flatpak. What I love about Linux is they have a full-time group of people that work on this product, and they also maintain TimeShift, which is one of the best backup software pieces for desktop Linux. One of the most widely used. They have a full team developing this, and they really listen to their base. It's been very well maintained, very reliable. They've actually engineered their own update system, their own, and that works very well. I have very few issues with it. There are times, one of the biggest complaints I run across Linux is it's easy to break. And I don't care if you're running Fedora. I don't care if you're running different versions like Garuda, which is based off Arch. Those are the things we're going to talk about. Arch. I'm just bringing in what I consider to be the three most widely used bases. And that is going to be Fedora Linux, which is basically maintained by Red Hat Linux. Red Hat Linux uses this as kind of a way to test bed their formal enterprise product, which just went closed source recently. So, and that's causing some big waves. So it's no longer, Red Hat Linux does not release its source code anymore for its enterprise version. Fedora, on the other hand, is its latest, greatest. They consider it to be a testing branch, but it is very stable, very widely used in the community, and very well supported. So this is actually a very good operating system for those of you who like it. I have software that I need to run that does not run, or I cannot find a variant without having to do compile code on Fedora, so I don't use it for that reason. I also have an issue with multi-monitors with different monitor setups. If I'm running I have two different monitors that are gaming monitors, and for some reason it doesn't like will not display properly, and that's an issue with Wayland, which is a back-end system that is fairly new to Linux. I mean, fairly new compared to X11, which is what's been out there for a long time, and so it has some trouble with different monitors, obviously, still, and they need to finish, fixing that and supporting it better for me to be able to use and consider recommending it to other people. When I recommend something like I'm doing today, it's because it's rock solid and it's something I always go back to, which I am reason why I chose Linux Mint to do that for. Now, Ubuntu, this is Ubuntu. If you go in here and you go to download, you're going to go to this page right here and get Ubuntu Desktop. And there are two versions. This is the LTS version, which is a version that's supported long-term till 2027. I find some issues with the Bluetooth stack and some other things on this system, on this particular version, the kernel it's using. There's some issues with compatibility with my Bluetooth and on two different machines. So I don't feel like fixing their operating system for them. I'm sorry, fix it. It works in 2304, but this is the one that I have issues with. It will not work with Zoom properly on my system. It will not share any of my screens on Zoom. If I share my screen, it's just a blank screen to everybody and it freezes and locks. And I use Zoom every day, so it won't work. This is the kind of stuff you run across when you're running across issues with Linux, is you find bits and pieces of things that don't work. Now, Arch is a very popular version of Linux. Garuda is my favorite based on Arch, and mainly because they have different versions, but there is a version here that is, their stuff usually works really well out of the box. It's not really, I don't think it's good for corporate. Like, I use mine for the same system for a mixture of work and play. But if you go down here and you look at their downloads, this Dragonized version is awesome. This is for people that really good for personal computers doing gaming. It's optimized. I consider this to be a hobbyist. This to me is more of a hobbyist system. I do not find it working well for me for the corporate environment. It looks a lot and functions a lot like a Mac, but there are big differences. There's still a lot of learning curve. It teaches you some good things. And then they have the GNOME and the Cinnamon versions. Like Cinnamon is their version of what I'm running. So it's like it's based off a different software repository called Arch. Arch does not have everything I need, or I'd be running it. Same thing with it. You can see the versions here. Some of these versions are all different, what we call Windows managers, or looks and feel to it, to Linux. Linux has a unique ability that its core functionality, its operating system, and the desktop that you see are actually different layers. So you can try different things and put them on, but what you find is there are limitations. Just like I outlined in Fedora, Ubuntu, Garuda, you all have those. This, rock solid. Can't complain about it. I always go back to it and it just works. Okay. By the way, those of you who are wondering my background, I am the CTO for this company right here, AIO Integrations. I currently sit on I'm acting CTO for 4 companies. I sit on 6 boards as a technical advisor, and I've been doing what I do for 33 years. So, and I got my start by doing back-end server infrastructure, website development. And then I became a level 3 engineer, and I've worked on 2 continents as a contractor for Dell. I've done LAMP stack development, did DNA matching for a company that in the bioscience industry. I can't really go into it because some of what they do is classified. And then I started working the MSP market because I just enjoy helping small businesses. So now we do cybersecurity. We work in the micro sector, and so for home-based and small businesses, mostly sub 100. So really enjoy it. Cybersecurity is our specialty. I'm going to go ahead and talk about something we're giving away for free a little bit later, but let's go ahead and get out of this for now. We're going to talk about the operating system. You can see I've got OBS running here. I'm recording the session in the background. That's what this little red star is right here, but let's talk about everyday functionality. All right, so my Windows Explorer right here, you can see I can see my normal system, but you can see here that I've got cloud drives mounted. Well, there is a program called OneDriver, and if I pull it up right here, see it? OneDriver is a program that lets me add multiple OneDrives, either work or SharePoint drives, and you can see I've got a couple of, this is my personal one, this is my work one, and this is my work one for another company. And I can add as many of these as I want. I just pick a directory for it and add it. And this is checkmark. It's telling me that I want that started when it boots, when I log in, counts. So I don't have to bring the program up. But as you can see, I can get in here, and this shows me what I love about OneDriver versus paid programs like InSync. InSync, if I link it up, number one, I got to pay for it. It's proprietary software. But 2, it downloads everything that's in those drives to my desktop. Now, I only have a 500 gig drive, and I've got three quarters of a terabyte. I've got 750 gigs up there, and that would totally use up my entire hard drive plus some. So this allows me to access those files. I can go in and I can view files. If I want to go look at a directory, give it a second to refresh, and it'll pull it up. And you can see I'm thumbnailing. And now I can open and look at these pictures. Okay? But very, very cool in the fact that all this is coming from the cloud, and it downloads only what I actually use. Okay? I can fully manage it. Like here, I see I have some duplicates. So I can get rid of my duplicates, just like I would anything else. And it will sync that stuff up instantly. All right. So every time I make a change here, it makes that change to the cloud. I can see all my cloud drives here. See right here. And you can see thumbnailing is already here. This is my other drive for work. You can see I got office programs. I'm going to show you guys all the stuff you need to have a fully working system. So You can see my system nice and responsive. I'm running a bunch of stuff in the background. So here, Microsoft Teams. I can look at my teams. I can look at my chats from these teams. I can actually go in and set up on my video. I've got Vonage Business integrated with it, so I get my phone service through that. All that is working. I can even access my team shares for OneDrive, my team drive, all right here. So Teams works on it. I have a Facebook Messenger program called Capine, and Capine actually allows me to chat with my friends. I can do video, audio calling. You can see that right here. And this is a conversation I was having with somebody about a Destiny dude streaming, and for Destiny 2. So I love that, and I'll actually show you how you can actually use gaming with it. Very, very cool. So down here, I have Steam running. So if I want to bring up my library, I can see here, I can see my library. Some programs will actually run natively. See, this computer. And I can install and run this on my computer. I do not have a dedicated gaming card, so I will not do this. If it recognizes other programs on my computer, I could actually play my Windows version from here through Streamcast. So there's a lot of things I could and couldn't do. Right now, I just have it on here, so I have my controller compatibility. In other words, I have a PlayStation 5 controller right here. I have a that's connected through Bluetooth. I have a Bluetooth headset, and I'm able to use those devices through this without any issue. I hook them up, and I can actually game in the cloud using Geforce Now. That's this program here, and I'll demonstrate that in a minute. But I can go in here and install programs. There's actually thousands of programs in here that are Linux compatible if you have a good gaming system. I use this for Zoom, and you can see here that all my stuff in here for Zoom. I can access my settings and choose my video. It won't show my video right now because I'm obviously recording it using my camera for this. What I love, here's my Bluetooth. And what I love is this. This is the system update tool. So this is showing me all the updates that are available on my system automatically. And all I have to do to update my entire system is go put in my password. And I must have mistyped something, so let's try it again. There we go. And it will run these updates and take care of it in the background for me. And it is done. My system is fully up to date, and this just runs in the background and lets me know if there's any issues. But it doesn't just update my operating system, it updates my entire computer. Every piece of software on my computer is updated. That's what I love about it. I have notifications here to tell me that this has been updated and can be run. Run that in a minute. I can see my printers. I can also go in here and see any removable devices, things about my account. So if I want to log off, switch off, things like that, I can do that. My network connection and my sound is all available right here. I also have my access to my calendar and any events that are going on in that calendar, but I don't use this as the calendar. So we're going to talk about email here for a second. Now, I am an Office 365 user. I told you I sit on 6 boards, and I actually have active role as CTO in 4 companies. So I needed something that could work with Office 365, multiple accounts, not just one account, but multiple accounts, and combine those like Outlook does. So I needed Outlook functionality, and there's web Outlook, but I can't mix boxes like that. I have to go to every one individually. I need to be able to see my calendar in one place. So as you can see here, I am able to view all my accounts in a unified inbox, and I can see all that come across here. I can also view all my calendars in one place. So I can bring up my calendars right here. I can turn some on or off, depending on what I do. And I can see everything going on in one place from all my different. And of course, I got my agenda for the day, which comes up here. But this is all nice. Contacts, same way. I can see unified contacts and see all my contacts that are here. But this right here is free. And it's something I can install in 5 minutes, and it keeps it updated. It also runs in the background, just like Outlook does right here on my tray. So it notifies me when I have new stuff. You can see my stuff comes up here. Notifications. Pop that open and let me see it. So I have OneDrive functionality. I have Office 365 email calendaring for multiple accounts. I have the ability to do messaging through Caprine. I have access to Vonage systems. I can do. I can also log into the web and use web apps I would normally use. So if I want to access my Office application, I can do that at office.com, and all that works just fine. I use a web-based Visio. I also use Creative Cloud, and Creative Cloud works just fine. I don't need to install Photoshop. There's actually a web version now of Photoshop that works extremely well. And let's go ahead and log in here. And you can see that I can see all my Office stuff just fine. I can see my Outlook, use those applications. Works just fine. I'm able to use LinkedIn. You can see my LinkedIn stuff works just fine. See my feeds. I also use third-party applications like Octopus for messaging. I use Zoho. I actually use a product for MSPs that is to manage networks and mode into other systems. All that stuff works fine. It's all browser based, so anything you can run in Chrome, you can run it there. Let's talk about Office. So if I want to go access something, let's go pull up something out of my personal thing. Okay. See if we can something here. We can open up. Actually, I think I have some. This is off, by the way, this is off my Windows machine. So my Windows machine, you see these links here, Call of Duty, Destiny 2. This is actually showing you stuff off of that. Now, if I want to open this, I actually want to open it. It comes with LibreOffice. I'm not a big fan of LibreOffice. I actually like OnlyOffice better. So if I pick this, I can just open it up right here, and you can see that looks an awfully lot like. Okay. I can go in here, and this was some I was doing some definitions off of Chat GPT, and I would ask things like, why are small businesses at such a risk? And it actually gave me, it's amazing. Why do mainstream antivirus products fail? And it actually gave me all this. I wanted to see how realistic it was creating copy. I liked it so much, I copied and pasted here, and sometimes I use some of this output to post out through my posts and social media. We talk about XDR. Why is it better? These are all things that are that we use, and so this has full functionality for Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. I just gave you an Outlook alternative, so you can do everything you can do, and as far as like PDFs and things like that, give you an example for PDFs. So these are obviously JPEGs, but let's pull up a. So this is a PDF, and you can see it's an aging. I can size this, I can print it, I can pretty much do whatever I want with it. All this stuff is native. Zip files, I can see I have zips here, so I can take these zips and I can unzip them just like anything else, or I can open them up and look at them. But all these things are, most of it just already here. It's already native to Linux, so you don't have to really install applications. Now, I promised some fun stuff, and for the gamer people that are out there, we've talked about a lot of the work stuff, a lot about the daily life, using the stuff in daily life. Yes, there are. If you go, I've got different versions of browsers installed here. I have Discord, I have FileZilla for FTP, I have Slack even. So, and I don't know if I've set up my Slack yet. Probably not. So I'll do that later. But yeah, Slack works just fine, and there's native clients for it. So I'm not having to do anything absolutely crazy or outside of that. You see Teams for Linux, you see other Bluemail, the things I've already talked about. This is a nice desktop Fondo, nice desktop wallpaper finder. goes on and lets you find wallpapers, and you can do searches. So I am a huge landscape person. Or let's just say I want to find mountains. And look at that. So if I find something I really like it's right here. Okay. I say that and it doesn't work. How nice. Okay, well, obviously we got a problem with it. This is what I was talking about, how some programs do not work. So this is one we just discovered doesn't work. Fortunately, I really don't care about that because that is not something a whole bunch. I actually just set a default one, the one that I had on here earlier. That's just a default wallpaper in there, and you can use any of your pictures as well. So I have some very cool ones that I have set in here. Like, I'll give you an instance. This is off of my desktop for my Windows machine, right? And I am a car fan. So a lovely wife right there, granddaughters. And if you give it a second, I to put one of my favorite backer here. Go. So I can go and right. I like these, but one in particular I'm looking for. Here it is, right. You know how easy that was. Very nice. Love that car, man. That car is very, 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 very cool. And I can do the same thing as here. So you can see it's very easy to wallpapers around. I do. Now, that being said, let's go into the fun part. Let's talk about. Now, I told you I'm a Destiny fan. Of course, as well. There are a couple of others I play. I can simply just go down to them, pick them up here. You can see which 3 is in here. The ones that I have purchased, these are new ones just in, but the ones that I have, the one that I mainly play is this. So we'll go ahead and plug that in. This is entirely hosted in the cloud. So in other words, this is not installed on my machine. It's using NVIDIA's hardware. They're using, I believe, 3080 cards on cloud-based gaming, and I'm able to stream out at 60 frames a second. Okay, here, let's go. Let's see how it looks. All right, you can see I can access my Steam. My Steam library is up here. I'm running Destiny right now. It's only here. Give it a second to load and see how that works. It has access to my microphone, my controller, headset, everything that's set up on my system. And I've never tried to do this in the middle of actually recording something, so we'll see how this works. So if we get a little bit of choppiness, it may be because we're recording at the same time. Let's hope not. So you can see here. Will it load up here? I'm very casual with my recording, so sorry about that. So I can see here, you can see my Titan, my Warlock, and my Hunter. You can see load is pretty good. I can get around, everything pops up pretty easily. we'll go in and see. Well, we can load into one of these worlds and kind of see what it looks like. So let's go take a look at, see, where should we go? I'm going to go into the Dreaming City. This is a very Dreaming City is a very graphically intensive location. Let's kind of see what it looks like. Now, I see a little bit of choppiness here. This is probably because I'm recording at the same time. I normally don't see it. Keep in mind, you can see how fast it is. I have no hardware acceleration. There's no hardware. This is all being done from the cloud. You can see the movement is pretty fast. Some dudes over there. I think you can get an idea. So this is an open world, multi-user, cloud-based environment. We'll exit out of this and come back, but as you can see, I can game with this just fine. So a lot of the PC games that I would normally play, I just use this for. That is a paid service. I pay $50 for every 6 months for that, and that's it. But from a perspective of a user, there's nothing the system doesn't do, and it's very customizable. So you can see here I have a weather notification I added for my area. I can customize the way all this looks and feels through the settings. If I go look at my settings, I can see here that I can add applets for different things. So I can add extensions and applets into things. I can set up more online accounts. It does have native integration into Google, so it'll do Google Drives, and I can change my themes around. So this theme I'm using here is called Faded Dream. If I want to make it look more like Windows 10, I could click this and look, wow, okay, now I have something that looks a little more like Windows 10. That's how easy it was for me to change that. I happen to like this because I like the transparencies. I think that's really cool looking, very, very classy looking. And you can also change your colors for things. So this is all the different styles and things you can change between, or your colors and legacies and things like this. So you have all sorts of different styles you can choose from for how controls look. You can change your folder icons depending on what you want to see. So right now I think mine are set for Yarrow Blue. If I change that in real time, you can see that it will change. Very, very neat stuff. You can control your users, your panel, preferred applications, what you want to open with and close. Like I want to use Bluemail as my mail application. Google is that. This is actually music and video. Now, music, I actually like Clementine better, which is a music manager like iTunes. Yeah, I can choose my image, what I want to open images with. And and this is the same thing. So I can change what programs open for PDFs, document viewer is fine. Source code, text editor is fine. File manager, plain text, calculator, terminal, and so on. And there's some really cool things I can do with my windows and things that you don't have the ability to do in other programs. So for instance, I use Terminal to do things. So Terminal, and I can just start typing if I want to find something. And there it is. So let's say that I just want to dress this up a little bit. I think this is kind of plain Jane, and I want to change the way that looks. So I'm going to go into my preference. And this is the cool part of Linux. When I told you it lets you change how things work, I was not kidding. So I can uncheck this, I can check this, and I can say I want to have a little bit, I want some transparency. There we go. So I want to be able to see through that window. So there we go. I just did that, and now I can see through my window in the background. So as I type and put commands in here, I can actually see my background. I can also change the color of text. And this is stuff I can see. This is just a kind of a really cool program that lets me see the at command line the average, how much the system's being used for what, which is really kind of cool. This is more Windows administrator or Linux administrator stuff, but I love the fact that for a modern user, you're going to get all this capability. You have access to OneDrive, Google Drive, you have access to games, you have access to native Chrome apps. Like for instance, I am a YouTube user. Okay, so if I do tv.youtube.com, and put that in, I'm going to go to their app, and I want to install the app. Yes, install. Okay, now get out of this, and you can see it's running in an app now. Put an icon on my desktop for it. Put that right up there. I can now resize this. I'm one of those people that cut the cable a long time ago. So let me resize this to what I want. And I am now in my YouTube library. So I want to go see what's live. I can click over here. And I can see my guide. And okay, here's my locals. Here we go, Animal Planet. Oh, here's Ender's Game. Okay, so
10 minutes!
At ease.
I can run this here,
This
or
is
if
the
I have
battle.
another monitor.
In here, the flow's been
I can
designed to
see
create
this
an
out to
Earth-like gravitational
anything running
pull.
Bluetooth.
Step through that
Or
gate,
wireless.
and you're in a zero-G environment.
So, can you make this work for what you do for day to day? Yes. Those people that would say that Linux is not usable, I would say that's not true. It depends on the version of Linux you use, and picking a distribution that is rock solid, that just works, is very, very important. And that's why I've chosen to show you guys Linux Mint today, because Linux Mint works with everything. There is a solution that works for every situation, for everything most people use for work, home, and so on. And if you haven't ever tried it, if you have an old PC that is outdated, that you want to speed up, you want to turn it into something that's new, back up your stuff, either to a hard drive or to Google Drive or to OneDrive, whatever you're going to do, because you can connect to both, and try it. I think that you will be surprised with how well this works. And by the way, as long as you can run a service from a web browser, you can use it in Linux. I'm going to take a minute to tell you about a couple of things real quick too. One, I'm going to take a minute to tell you about a browser called Brave. Brave is a browser that is based on Chrome, but has been de-Googlified. And what I mean by that is they have actually, I don't like the way this looks right now, so I'm going to settings, I'm going to change my theme. So you're going to see a lot of this stuff looks the same. Appearance. Let's do classic. There we go. Use G. This is using my theme now. That's what I wanted. So now my dark theme is here. All right. So that being said, I want to use a browser window, and this actually has a lot of default things already here. So I'll give you an instance. If I was to go to a typical site, let's pick something like CNN. Can't stand these guys. But look over here. Okay, 40 ad trackers were blocked. Okay, and it's trying to install something. CNN is trying to install something from Google without my permission, and it's been blocked. It's asking me if I want to allow it or not. Loaded from Google servers, which Brave cannot inspect. So I'm going to block it for right now. But you can see here, so 52 trackers. And there's actually a rewards program for using this browser. I don't really use that, but I love that you also can store your credit cards and stuff like that in a wallet. But I love that I can go in here and I can see what they have blocked, and I can actually turn all this stuff on and off, like the trackers and stuff. I can go in and see aggressively block it, or allow all. So I can actually turn this stuff on or off. By default, it blocks them. So every time I go into a site, like let's go Office Depot. And I'm not picking on you, Office Depot. I just decided that I would, see what you're running. Now on this site, we only ran across 7 trackers. But this is just 2 sites, and in 2 sites we blocked 59 blockers, 59 ad trackers. So yeah, these things are crazy. This is a nice, safe browser use called Brave. It's available for Windows, Mac, and Linux. But two of the last things I want to show you. So I want to show you this. This browser is called Brave. I will show you an about Brave right here. It's based on Chromium is the open source version of Chrome. It is open source software. This is free. You can look at the different shields that are here and the blockers and set your privacy the way you want it. You can even do social media blocking, which is amazing. So you can really lock this thing down to prevent things from getting, you can import your bookmarks and stuff like that still. Okay, you can, if you want to add them or import them, you can do that still. But this is a great way to have a safe browsing experience without the risk. And I have to say, it's one of my favorites. Okay. The other thing I wanted to show you is the software store. Now that's built into the side here. This is it right here. And this gives you access to tens of thousands of free open source software programs. So let's say I want to find an alternative to Photoshop. I'm going to put this in, and look, I now came across two programs. These are Photoshop brushes for GIMP, which is another program, but this is a program called Photopea, and I already have it installed, and it is a program that will open and run Photoshop files. PSDs, AI, XD, it'll open native Photoshop formats, which I think is absolutely awesome. All right. Now, also, if you're looking for, different things, like you can look for fonts to install. Like I want to put on, these are all the Microsoft TrueType open source fonts. These are proprietary fonts, but they're available for Linux. I can install those. I simply have to do this, give it my password for the system. I have to give it permission. Nothing gets installed without permission. One of the things that make it secure, it's going to ask me if I accept the EULA license, and I'm going to go next, and it will now install all those Microsoft fonts on my system. So now I can see native Microsoft fonts like Verdana, Impact, Comic, Arial, things that are proprietary to Microsoft. So as you can see, there are a lot of things you can, and while this is working, I can go do other things. So if I wanted to go look at some other things, like a little, here's Dropbox. I don't personally use Dropbox, but if I wanted it, and a lot of people do, I simply would have to come in here. Now it's busy right now. The system, usually it will let me install, but it is got this little busy symbol here, which means it is working. So we're going to let that finish. Now let's go pick something else for right now and see. This is a diagram editor. Well, something, it must be updating in the background. This is like a Visio program. Lets you do diagramming. There is stuff for everything in here, and you can run through and install these. Deluge is a BitTorrent product for downloading torrent files and hosting torrents. You can commit VLC, very common program for, this is a very common program for viewing and editing files, audio file, video files. You can't edit them, but you can view them. This is a Stellarium. This is a really neat three-dimensional program. Shows you the sky, the constellations, where they're at based on your location. Really, really neat, graphically pleasing program. In fact, I'm going to install that because I like that. You can see I have Steam installed. Talked about GIMP earlier. I have that installed. I have a Mahjong program on here. I think I'm saying that right. Firefox is installed. Sublime is a really, really excellent text editor for code and markup for code. We have Spotify. And these are all great programs that are used. And this is just some recommendeds here, but you can go in and look by, let's say you want a really good tool like BleachBit to clean off drives. Okay. If you have an NVIDIA card, these are usually installed by default, but you can install that separately if you want to. But let's say that I am looking to clean some drives. Oop, I need to go into the repository here and try that. Hold on. There it is, BleachBit right there. So this allows me to basically take unnecessary files from the system. There's also it's also for cleaning hard drives and stuff like that too. As you can see here, this is very snappy. Darktable, great program for it's basically a darkroom program for photographers. Lets you adjust color, balances, things like that off raw HDR photos, stuff like that. Very, very cool. But everything, even Kodi, which is open source home theater, very, very cool program. And what's really neat is they show you screenshots of what these things look like. In other words, a lot of times they'll have that. They'll have user ratings on this to tell you about. Kodi is probably one of the most common open source platforms for that. Anyway, lots of other things. Wine Tricks. That Wine is a program, you probably saw that earlier in here. Wine is a program that allows you to actually run Windows programs on Linux. Now, I don't like that because it also brings with it the inherent ability for viruses that are made for Windows to run. And so I purposely do not run that for that reason. There are literally thousands and thousands of programs in here. And these are ones that I just was doing a look for to show you what's here just briefly. If you're looking for science and education tools, Stellarium is one we just talked about. R statistical language is in here, which is open source. There's things for planets and gravitary bodies that does simulation. There's geography. There's all sorts of simulators. There's graphing functions for mathematical equations, all sorts of things. There's even stuff for music and entertainment, graphics development. So if you do anything in like vector-based drawing, all that stuff is here. Like one of the programs I use, I don't know if it's in here or not. I might have to go back here. Hold on. Yep, here it is right here. This is for OfficeJet applications. It lets you manage for those of you with OfficeJet printers, and you still want to have that ability to scan to your computer, see if that loaded it or not. I don't know if it did. There we go. So I can set up my device. I know my network for it, so I'm just going to go in and do manual discovery because I find that easier. I happen to know it. And there it is. What's nice about this, don't want to do fax setup. I can send a test page there if I want to. And you can probably hear it, maybe you can't, but it is printing that test page. So now I have the ability to actually see my printer, and I can do scan from here. I can see my inkjet levels, clean the print heads from here. So if I want to see what level my things are at here, I can see that. And just a lot of the stuff that I could normally do when I was running that. And you can see it runs right down here in the tray. So again, a lot of very cool functionality. Now you can turn off these notifications if you find that they're just absolutely annoying and you don't want them. You can turn all of them off in your notification settings. Anyway, last thing I'm going to cover, this is our website. We specialize in this kind of business. I talked about that earlier. We do have a whole section for families and home-based businesses now that's all brand new. It's a cybersecurity product called MS360. It provides a enterprise level antivirus and a ransomware product for your house up to 5 devices, and it includes an entire image base. We actually image your entire computer, regardless of size. There's no size limitation. It can be 1 terabyte, 2 terabytes, we don't care. We're going to image that entire system to the cloud, encrypted, and keep a copy of it for you. So in case anything ever happens to your system, fire, whatever, you have a copy of your computer. And that can be, you can ship us a drive, we can copy it to it, or you can install the software on another computer and we can image it down. There's a lot of things we can do. A lot of people just opt to have us copy it to a hard drive and send it to them so they can copy their files over to another computer. But the point is that it is backed up automatically, and it is safe and in what we call persistent storage. It is completely safe from ransomware and can't be affected. We have stuff for small companies up to 10. That's a fixed price solution that's included here. And for businesses, we offer a $1 million financial protection plan, cybersecurity insurance built into the product for any businesses of 5 people or more. So very, very, very cool. One of the new things I'm going to tell you about, because you need to know about this, our company does a lot for community service. And what we've done is we have actually created a portal where you can go down, and it's training.aiointegrations.com. When you get here, scroll down, there are 2 courses. So if you, for families, we did this new course called Cybersecurity for Family and Friends. It is free. It takes about 1 hour and 15 minutes to go through. There's no testing or anything. The first part, we recommend that you watch with your kids, that any kids using like computers in the house should go through this. There is 1 lesson. This is meant to be viewed by the whole family. This course is just for parents. We talk about how why hackers are targeting minors using social media and how they're doing it. And then we also talk about why they're hacking schools and the dangers to your kids in combination with that in social media. We also talk about how to create boundaries with your digital parenting tools, ways to be able to restrict how much your kids use the computer or their Xbox, what they're doing on their phones, and being aware of who they're talking to and what they've installed on their phones. They're targeting minors. Hackers targeting minors have gone up 600% last year alone. There were over 7,000 targeted sextortion attacks against teenagers last year, and where hackers are posing as people they're not, getting kids to do something they shouldn't and then blackmailing them, which resulted in 16 suicides. It cost 16 minor lives last year alone. And this year it's already up. 7,000 documented attacks on minors just in 2022. And of course, we don't have the numbers for this year. If you want to know more about how to protect your kids and your family from these situations, this is a free class. Make you aware of those things, where to go to find free tools. Some that cost a very little bit of money, like $10 a month, and some that are free, depending on what level you want to do. Monitor your kids driving, know where they're at all times, all those kind of things. That is in this, and it's free to you. The other course that we do revolves around employees and training. So this one right here is for companies. So if you have a small business and you want to get your people up and running and be your frontline soldiers in your company, then come over here. This is again, I believe it is a 3-part course. There is a test after each section, and you have to pass the test in order to get the certification at the end. If you pass all 3, there's a larger test after the 3rd. It covers all 3 sections. You pass with 80% or more, you're going to get a certificate you can download. This is good. Usually will get you discounts on your cybersecurity insurance if you have any. If you don't, it will help you qualify for that. If anything, it's going to educate your people on how to identify phishing schemes, how to protect themselves and get out of situations where their computer gets mistakenly locked up by something that's not really a virus, but will lead to one. So we teach all those things in these classes, and they are free. This is a total of 3 classes. It takes about I think it's about an hour and a half, 2 hours to do the whole course. There's a test after each one. Like I said, the first 2 are very simple. The tests are meant to see if you're paying attention. That's it. They're made to see if you're paying attention. And if you pay attention, it's going to be very easy. You're going to pass. You're going to get a certificate. But this, if you own a small business, put them through this course. It's self-serve. They just got to go sign up and register. It's very, very easy. Just come up here to sign up. And all it asks for is your name and email address. It's going to send activation to you to verify your email address, make sure you're who you say you are, and then you can go in and access the courses. It's as simple as that. And so some courses like this one right here, the home one is completely self-accessible. The one for employees will require someone from our company to approve it. Approvals are usually done within the same day, within a few hours. So once you request access to it, it'll usually be granted same day, or within 1 business day. Okay. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. My purpose in this was to educate you about whether Linux is actually something that is usable for you. At home, definitely. For those of you mixed purpose, have access to the things I'm talking about. It's got a good dual purpose capability. If you take the time to test it first and make sure it's good for what you want to use, I will tell you what I showed you today is very rock solid. I've used it on my test machine. This test machine runs different versions all the time, specifically to have a test machine. But I have ran this in production on a couple of my production machines for over 2 years and had no issues. It is a very reliable system. And it does allow you to do upgrades from one version to the other when there are major upgrades. There's ways to do that without losing your information. So it will let you upgrade from each major version to each major version without having to reinstall. Anyway, thank you for watching. Appreciate you, and have a great day.